Welcome and thank you for joining us for the Spotlight on Urban Tech in Europe virtual series. The webinar dated 10th September 2020, and we're discussing how collaboration between cities drives urban tech development. We have some fantastic expert panellists for you again today, who we will introduce to you in a moment. My name is Katerina Zalamova, my company is C Intelligence, and we started this project with Pascal Bleeker from For Global, along with some of our independent advisors. With the aim to create connections, new opportunities, share insights and knowledge within the urban tech community. The project includes a series of webinars which are produced on a monthly basis, and we have follow-up expert insights documents where you're able to read more from our panellists and other guest interviewees. We will also have a survey, and in June next year we will conclude with a final report and an event where we will hopefully bring everybody together in person. Please visit the website urbantech.world to find out more about us and view options for subscriptions and partnerships. But I'll pass over to Pascal now with For Global, and he can tell you a little bit more about who will be speaking today and introduce them.
Well, thank you, Christina. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this live webinar of Spotlight on Urban Tech in Europe. My name is Pascal Bleeker, and I'm the co-founder of For Global and passionate about technology in cities, like most of us here in this webinar. Technologies are rapidly changing our lives and societies every day, everywhere. So in this webinar, we've chosen an amazing group of experts who share with us their insights, how collaboration between cities drives the development of urban technologies. And in times like these, it is even more important that we can learn from each other to future-proof our cities, our companies, and our lives. And therefore, to get a profound perspective, we have experts from Barcelona and Tallinn, the smart mobility provider Bolt, and the science perspective by CREA ID Lab. This webinar will cover today's challenges for collaboration and the benefits achieved, and also opportunities in the future for urban tech ecosystems. We do already receive a few questions for our panel, but more questions are of course also welcome. So if you have a question for our panel, please share with me via the chat functionality, which is on, as we end the webinar with a Q&A. The total webinar will take approximately 45 minutes and will be moderated by Zak Meziane. And now without further ado, let me give the floor to our panelists, who will briefly introduce themselves. Can I start with you, Toomas?
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Toomas Türk and I'm the Chief of Innovation from the city of Tallinn. This is a city of vibrant, new Nordic, and we are having a lot of impact globally, from globally known as one of the most advanced digital capitals in the world. And we're happy to share our insights, what has happened during this 2020, and of course to be part of this discussion, and later on sharing our expertise also in a written way. So,
thank you, Toomas. Can we go over to you, Marc, in Barcelona?
Thank you. My name is Marc Unio, and I work for the City Promotion Department of the Barcelona City Council. We are some kind of department that we promote economically internationally in Barcelona, and we select strategic sectors that we want to promote abroad. And you can imagine that urban development and innovation and technology are among them, because Barcelona is one of the most technological cities of Europe. So we are here very happy to share also this expertise in this, and specifically to learn about other experiences, to understand what's going on in all Europe, and also to share our best practices.
Thank you, Marc, for that great introduction. We'd like to go back to Estonia, to Sandra. Sandra, can you tell a bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Pascal. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. My name is Sandra, and I work at Bolt, which is the leading European transportation platform. European-based, Estonia-based actually, and one of 4 Estonian unicorns. I'm currently the head of sustainability at Bolt, but I started here as the head of regulatory in the Baltics and Nordics. And prior to that, I worked for the Estonian government, so I have experience from both sides. Oh, and I also teach at Tallinn University of Technology, so I have experience from the academic side as well. Hope to bring some variety into the discussion. Thanks.
Oh, thanks a lot for that, Sandra. And Katerina, you're always traveling, so I would normally say we'll hop back to Barcelona, but I know you're now in Bulgaria. So could you please introduce yourself as well?
Thank you very much, Pascal. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to share some ideas about smart city. This is really one of the topics that it's one of my personal passions. And I'm a founder of CREA Lab. It's a think tank for advanced cities. We are educating municipalities to understand how to use the positive impact from technology, envisioning futures. We are interested in long-term impacts like social, environmental, but also the meaning behind technologies. So nowadays we are promoting a new methodology for concept visualization of city development called Cities Building Futures, where we understand that you don't need to know the future, you need just to enable this to come true. So thank you very much to be here, and let's have a nice conversation.
I think that sentence still rings in my head. You don't need to know the future, you just need to make it come true. Was that what we said, Katerina? I love this one. I'm just going to remember it for the whole month. That's going to be my motto for this month. Well, thank you very much, Pascal. It's a pleasure for me an honor and a privilege for me to be here to host this conversation among the panelists of such great experts. And I think just to dive straight into it, our first question is very much anchored in the present and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on urban tech initiatives. Now, Toomas, would you like to kick us off with your perspective on the impact of COVID-19 in the city of Tallinn?
Yeah, thank you, Zak. Yeah, I guess it was, first of all, a shock and all the things that happened around it. But at the same time, this kicked us immediately out of the comfort zone. And it was either to go with adoption way or mitigation way. So how to react. And from City of Tallinn perspective, of course, we had to deal how to keep running all these civil services. But more important for us was that we were a little bit prepared for that. Not little, but a lot. And because due to this digital society that we have. So this really meant that we had up and running all these governmental services. And we have a really strong cooperation between the national and the local government level. And so many services are mixed between each other. But on the other hand, we already noticed that there is a demand for data. And this immediate focus on data management and how to provide the precise information for the city government leaders, and how to also work in this very confusement situation where the public was not informed as well. So how to bring the data into action. So just before we launched for example, a dashboard for the city, and this was really useful. So we managed to get also online information for the everyday run of daily information, weekly information. Of course, this was a little bit internal information, but at the same time, it gave an opportunity for the city government to make the right decisions and how to move on. And the second topic, what was also really important for us, was how to keep the e-democracy in life. So we can say that there is a digital society, but this, let's say, city council cannot meet each other because they need to vote, they need to make the decisions. And there we had like 30 days to come up with a real solution. And the city council in April already used the solution, which has online voting opportunity, and also had all the other features which are needed for keeping up the seat of democracy. So basically, for us, it was more concentration on how to really rely on this digital society benefits, but at the same time, how to use the data and democracy in life.
Thank you very much, Toomas. Great insights there. It looks like it's been a learning experience as well. Marc, from your perspective, can you give us what's the view from the experience in Barcelona?
So first of all, and I think it's one thing that everybody knows, that the pandemic had a special effect in Spain, really at the beginning, and now in this kind of second wave, we are suffering a lot. And Barcelona had one thing that helped the city before to survive better to the crisis, that it was a very popular and touristic city. So usually during the last crisis, the tourism helped a lot the city pass somehow better the crisis. This is something that it was some kind of a dream that now just vanished. So one day we woke up and no one was visiting the city. So we had the economic crisis that it's coming with the COVID, but also this kind of mean of survival that the city had. The tourism was just over for one day. So the impact is being very, very, very hard on the city. And relating to the topic of today, I think I have like 3 points, 3 levels that I want to cover very, very briefly. First of all, like Thomas said, the data. So I think at the beginning, the job that the city did during the last years, gathering live information on what's going on the city, not only on medical terms that of course help a lot, but also on social indicators, on pollution, on mobility, help a lot understanding what was going on in real time. So as the others, one day we woke up and nobody understood what was happening. It was a hard lockdown on the city. So this ability, this means to collect this data were really important. First of all, as Thomas said of Tallinn, providing solutions by the local government. So the local government could react because we knew what was happening in real time. But also I want to highlight the policy of open data that Barcelona has been implementing for a long time. So all this information was also available to the public, to stakeholders of the city, to the companies, the private sector. So not only the city council had this monopoly of information to provide the proper response, but also the startup ecosystem, the private sector, had this information available in order to be able to do this. Very briefly, second idea I want to highlight related to technology and innovation, and it's probably a positive point. Never happened before that just one day we had the city completely empty, so we could do what the scholars like to do, to compare things. Now, one day we had the city full with traffic running, and then the other day it was completely empty. So we had these 2 kind of set of informations to compare, and then to slowly introduce technologies, especially I would say in mobility, that otherwise would have taken a long time to introduce. So we have this second level of, we have the city empty, we can see what's happening, we introduce things very slowly, and then the traffic or the life comes back slowly together. We can see what works, what doesn't work. And the third level I want to comment is that, and probably is more for the future, what's going to happen in the future. So the use of the city has changed, and the cities develop themselves based on how the people live in the city, work in the city, move to the city. So this is changing a lot. And we are going to see how we are going to use the city in the future, and which opportunities are going to open to this, how people is going to work. Offices will have the offices the same meaning as today. The way we live in the city is going to be the same in the future. So I think this is the third level that is quite interesting. So the immediate response, having data reacting to the first crisis. The second thing, this kind of transition period that allowed us to introduce new technologies, to test, to understand what was going on in the city with no one moving and then slowly coming back to life. And then the third idea is what's going to happen in the future, which I don't have any answer for this.
Well, thank you very much. Well, remember what Katerina said. You know, you can't predict the future. We're just here to make sure that it happens in a nice way. Exactly. So thank you very much, Marc. I love your passionate overview. And I can see already there's some common themes here and some differences. I can see the common theme around data and how democratically it's available to people. So I'm hoping this is something that can be explored later on as well in the report in more detail. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in that. So in terms of kind of like the next thing that we want to look at is a lot of the technology, some of which have been mentioned already, that are invented to make better, more lively and more attractive, or more livable, cities, are driven by collaboration between cities, business communities, and academics. And working collaboratively means that solutions have a greater chance of success, sustainability, and scale up. So that's kind of like the principle that we're looking at in the next question. And thinking about the dynamics within the urban tech ecosystem, what has the most impact on collaboration between cities, business communities, and academics? So Sandra, from your perspective, from the business side, what is your view on what was most impactful?
Well, I have to say genuine cooperation. No, really, during, still referring to COVID-19, right? During the time of the crisis, still at the very early stages, for instance, the city of Vilnius reached out to us and said, please offer us an alternative to public transport where we just have a bunch of people together in one, cramped room. Bring out your e-scooters earlier to the streets. So this is what we did, and we actually helped the city to offer an alternative to public transport for people to travel in a more safe way, right? But I think it's super crucial to understand each other in a way that the city, whether it's Tallinn, whether it's Barcelona, it's really difficult for you to regulate some kind of technologies or new services if you don't understand them, right? And for us as a business, it's very difficult to come into a city space where we don't understand the traditions and the ways the city works, right? So in Tallinn, we've always had really good cooperation with the e-scooter service as well. We have commonly agreed on a speed limit for the scooters. So the rental scooters do have a speed limit, but for instance, the private scooters that people can buy from electronic stores don't have a speed limit. So these can go up to 80 or 100 kilometers per hour. And you can imagine how bad accidents can occur from this. But also if going to technical means, of course, data sharing. And again, I mean, I'm not saying this because Toomas is here, but but we have good cooperation with Tallinn that we actually share the data of our e-scooter routes, for instance. So they can take this into account in planning the city infrastructure, let's say pavements where you need to build better bike lanes, etc., because we have showed them the heat maps of which were the most used streets in Tallinn during the last season of e-scooter operators. And of course, I mean, you cannot leave the academic community out of this because they can be totally honest with us. They're the neutral third party who can give honest feedback, and they are actual experts in the field. You may be the regulator or maybe the business. We have all different interests at hands. Even if it's just the votes of our community, if you're a politician, or generating most profit when you're the business. But academicians can actually see the bigger picture, and I think this is crucial from this perspective.
Thank you very much, Sandra. I found your answer really fascinating in the sense that, I don't know, I made the wrong assumption that it will be something technological, but in fact, it's very basic human and collaboration kind of principles, openness, understanding each other's perspective, asking for help, all of those things that made a real difference. Thank you very much for that, Sandra. Katerina, do you want to give us your perspective from the academic point of view?
Thank you, Sandra, for your opinion. This was really a compliment because, however, we never try to work for Barcelona as a city because when we start our think tank, we make a market research in Spain, and we found that just 2% of the municipalities are cities. So we say everybody will want to work for them, but what about the other 98% of the municipalities? Nobody care about them. So we focus in small and medium municipalities, bringing the knowledge there to them. And so I really cannot say I know Marc, but thank you to Nolu now, to meet you. But what we do really in this was 6 years as CREA was founded, it's analyzing the faults and the success of Barcelona and spreading the word around the globe. Barcelona, it's really a pioneer city, and as pioneer, they have some errors sometimes, and these errors are really to us a treasure to explain to other cities not making the same errors and improve it. And what I want to highlight here is that nowadays we're living in a political change, very important geopolitical change, that the political power is coming to cities because on a global scale, society, it's the political classes and politics as a whole, it's going further from the real life of the people, and people are distrusting. So the only politicals that are feeling close to the citizens, and really citizens are feeling understanding, attendance, services are the municipalities. And Barcelona was really a best practice case to show how they can speed up political decisions and regulations. And this is something that I really want to highlight here, how important is this for cooperation, because many cities feel depressed under their regional or national governments, and they don't really believe in their power nowadays. And I really believe this is a new trend, that it's starting to change the world, and who is not embracing it will stay behind in the political field, to say somehow. And this power is forced because of the curiosity in the municipality level to understand the technology, to understand the community structures, to understand how people move around. And this is something really crucial to me in collaboration. You need to have this open mind, really to want to communicate and want to understand the other part. And this is what municipalities are doing very well. And this is what I want to celebrate and really highlight it here. That is the key for any successful collaboration, that you need this open mind and desire to understand the other point, to take the best and forget rivalities and whatever can be on a personal or a community level. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. And I think, there's nothing like a crisis to bring people together. And I love that. And that's a nice segue, talking about Barcelona, into maybe Marc, if you can give us your view quite briefly, in maybe a few words, what was the most impactful in terms of that collaboration from your perspective?
No, I think Katerina has said everything good she could say from Barcelona, but I think that's the idea. I think, as she said, we are global cities, and somehow we work together. Solutions that are valid in one city may be valid in other cities, but at the same time, each city has its own character. And Barcelona is a very innovative city. But if you compare it, for example, to Madrid, to Toulouse, other like surrounding cities, may have completely different character in terms of adoption of technologies. And I think this is the case for shared mobility. Barcelona has its own way, Madrid has a completely other way, and I think all of them are valid. And the idea that Sandra said, the international actors, the companies that want to implement technologies in the cities, they really need to understand the character of the city. And on the other side, the cities, we need to make the effort also to understand and to see what are the benefits of introducing these technologies, or which is the best way that these technologies can help the city developing and being more efficient in the most challenges that we have, like pollution, mobility, economic development, etc. So just to reinforce the point, I think that's the key point. Understand each player needs to understand the needs, the benefits of each other.
Thank you, Marc. And I think, Toomas, I'm going to save you for my next question to start with you straight, because it's linked to that. There's a hint of shared city initiatives in there, which is a nice segue into our next question. Which effectively is, we're saying that for many years, cities have been working together and to try and improve the environment they provide for their people and their businesses. I know my local town and really twinned with some other city in Europe and elsewhere. So innovation, inspiration, exchange of best practice and people sometimes is promoted by the European Union. Now, Toomas, as I said, from your perspective, and I'm assuming you've had experience of shared or intercity shared experiences, what were the benefits of these shared city initiatives, whether they're at local or regional level? And if you get a chance, also, can you mirror it by saying, okay, well, these are the benefits, but these were the challenges as well?
So in Tallinn, we also see very much a cooperation with the neighborhood cities. And one of the best examples is that we have this concept of working together with Helsinki. And we just cross a bay, and then this Helsinki Bay Area could be like a future model for the future San Francisco Bay Areas in the different regions. And of course, we also have this programs which are run by national level, but very much benefit also local level, which is called the e-residency program, for example, or this digital nomads. So we get a lot of understanding what is actually needed for the cooperation with other cities and what is expectations from, for example, digital nomads to work and stay in Tallinn and what it really means. And I guess what could be the downside is just so many information flows, and then it's great to have such a network platforms like Urban Tech here and then also others. So we can rely on this, let's say, validated information. And we also, from Tallinn perspective, we also concentrate very much on a dedicated platform, which is called the Tallinn Innovation. So Tallinn Innovation is part of this Triple Helix cooperation as well. So we also provide the information, what has happened in the city, what are the future plans. And also we very much work with the companies so they know how to interact with the city, how to open the doors. And also with academia, we see that there are, for example, the Center of Excellence in European Union is placed in Tallinn. And this is for the smart city and all these intelligent community developments here. So great examples, and I will just post you later on.
Okay, well, any challenges? I think that would be interesting hearing the other side of the coin.
Yes. So I guess, it's a question of the resources. So where to focus. So you get, as a smaller city, we are 500,000 people. We get so many requests to join this project, this is the other project. So to share these insights. So this is where you need a list of partners. And of course, you need to understand what is your message behind it. So we can see that there are so many interest groups who just want to learn about the digital society, for example. But our first question is, are you ready to make the legal changes? Are you ready to actually implement such a new things in your society? How you build the trust, for example? And if you don't have answers for these questions, these are the challenges in a cooperation as well.
And thank you very much, Thomas. It's a nice kind of move to getting Sandra's view on here, because I'm assuming, Andrea, you've been involved in some intercity initiatives. So what's your perspective? What were the benefits and the challenges?
Well, actually, Bolt is in 35 countries around the world, right? So we're 150 cities. So we even learn from our own experiences. So, but of course, it's what's necessarily applicable in Nigeria is not the same as is somewhere in Romania, or definitely not the same as in Stockholm or Tallinn, right? So all of the cities are very much different. But actually, as Toomas mentioned, the trust is crucial. So we're not only an e-scooter company, we're also ride-hailing. This was actually our very first service. And Estonia was the very first country to legislate or actually to regulate ride-hailing. And where we don't operate in the European Union countries, it's because they haven't allowed ride-hailing to operate in their countries yet, which is quite surprising in 2020. I remember when I first visited Copenhagen, and there was no Bolt at Copenhagen, so I had to ask for an Uber from the administration of the hotel, and they said, "What do you mean? We don't have this service here, you know." So it's crucial for us as a business that cities talk to each other and governments talk to each other and actually share, you know, the best and worst practices in terms of how to regulate new technologies. So sometimes cities are very much afraid to allow those new technologies into the city, be it e-scooters or ride-hailing or any other service, because they don't really know how to regulate it. So if they get a similar experience from other cities and figure out what were the pros and cons and what they would do better next time, right? So this opens doors for businesses as well, because it's very rough for us, maybe sometimes to get a hold of the city officials. I mean, Tallinn, as Toomas said, is small. I mean, it's still big. It's 500,000 people. But when we try to reach cities such as London or Berlin or any other big city in Europe, it's actually quite difficult just to get presence with the high authorities. So any reference from a city where we operate already in to the future city where we want to operate in is always very much welcome. And one of the things that we actually recommend the cities to look at is the possibility of hiring data analysts, because we're very much open to sharing data with the cities. But we've met some cities who say that they don't want our data because they don't know what to do with it. So we would be happy to share ride-hailing data to better prepare for public transport rights, because I mean, it would be useful to have solutions such as multimodality. Like how I come to work is I use public transport, I use a bus, and then I take a scooter from the bus stop, because the bus doesn't directly go from my home to my office. So in the future, multimodality, or this integration of services, public sector services with the private sector services, could actually be super helpful, because in the end we have to know that it's the consumer or the user who we are all working for, right? The cities work for their citizens, and us as companies work for our consumers to have their life better.
Thank you very much, Sandra. It's interesting, the topic of data, data availability and trust and opening that data, the democracy that Marc was talking about keeps coming up. Thank you very much. I'm just going to do a time check. Christina, do you want me to explore this question a bit more or move on?
I think this question's been quite interesting, actually. Maybe we could expand on it just very briefly for the next couple of minutes and then move on.
Thank you very much. So I'll look at you, Katerina, here just to see kind of like, I'll try and get an independent view where you've seen it all playing out as an academic. So what's your view in terms of the shared services initiatives? What have been the benefits and then the challenges?
As I mentioned, we have this new methodology that we build it on top of many methodologies, and what we are advocating is integration. I mean, integration was really crucial for smart cities to go to large scale. I mean, pilot scaling up to real infrastructure was mostly impossible in Europe, and we haven't really good examples of large scale infrastructures in smart cities. And one of the things that everybody was speaking about was the technological integration between the technologies itself. And what we are advocating from CREA Lab is that it's not sufficient to have just technological interoperability. You need also to create a framework of understanding of each stakeholders to allow this data flow, and that regulates legally who is who, where is the data, and what is the ownership, that later this data can flow and be open or be private. So nowadays we just design a new concept for a digital platform for a city of Neom in Saudi Arabia that is based on this concept. Because when we're speaking about data and cities, you need to think about the environmental impact of this topic. There is an environmental impact in the virtual world, and nowadays cities are so engaged with data; they are pushed to recollect a lot of data, and nobody is speaking about this environmental impact. So nowadays, what we try to highlight is that virtual world is sustained by physical world, and you need to be really clear about your data model as a stakeholders inside. Who will recollect, who will provide, who will serve the data, that you don't multiply the same 23 degrees in 100 records and databases. Because this is creating the servers number, it's growing. No? So all this legal framework will make the city more compact. So from there, it's our vision of the city as a mobile. Mobile, it's a device that is very complex, integrating much more complex technologies. But on the end of the day, you as a user don't know anything. You just use it for your needs. So we envision this city that you don't know how it's built, but it lets you enjoy it and build your ideas of dreams for future. So this is why cities building futures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. I think we get in so many different perspectives and lens on data. I mean, we're going to end up with such a rich picture. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you very much. So I think moving to the next question, which is effectively looking forward here. I mean, there is a recognition that, the human and economic tragedy that is the COVID-19 pandemic, there are silver linings, and one of which is that cities and businesses alike have been forced into making quick decisions, experimenting and adapting. And that is for sure a break from the traditional long-term planning approach, has brought agility and adaptivity to cities, businesses, and the people involved in that ecosystem. Now, looking into the future, which urban initiatives are driving collaboration in the urban tech ecosystem? I might start with you, Sandra, on this one. What is your perspective?
Really good question. I think to pop up to the end of my last answer, which was multimodality, so integration. So I think exactly for the purpose of the consumers, we need to integrate the services to service our citizens and our consumers better. So a combination of public transport versus private service providers, but not only just the combination of having the things on the same platform, but also, let's say, ticketing. In many cities, if you use different modes of transport, you have to purchase different tickets, or their timelines are not adjusted to meet each other, timetables, I mean. So these prove to be a headache for the citizens, right? So talking about technology, I think it's, mobility as a service, meaning mass, multimodality, etc. But taking a bit wider picture, I think it's actually the environment. And by environment, I mean, our environment, the planet that we live in. And I think we need to start thinking more green. Tallinn is again a good example on that. I just don't want to praise you because Toomas is here, but he can talk about more about the buses that we use and what do they run on. But really, I mean, whether it's electric trains or electric cars, for us as Bolt to bring our platform to cut down on the CO2 emissions in the cities, because at least in Europe, we have way too many deaths coming from the lousy air that we have in our cities. And then today in Europe, 80% of people live in the cities. So we still need urban transport, even if we cut down on personal cars. Hopefully in the future, we still need ways to get around. And I think these ways of getting around need to become more responsible in terms of how we treat our planet.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You mentioned Tallinn there, so that makes it easy for me to transition to Toomas. Your perspective?
Yes, it's very true that green agenda is for every city as a top priority at the moment, and also this climate and energy efficiency plans. But we also need to understand that in the current situation, it's really important to pay attention on also the concepts of unemployment, what is happening with that one, segregation, and cities are for everyone. So there are so many things that we need to consider. But for us, it's also important to point out that there is an education in the cities. This is really important. And in terms of the lifetime, or let's say, also the adults should, study more to learn new things. Maybe you have a second profession. So this is a question for the cities which are, not in a 10 or 15 or 20 years perspective, but we need to make some action right next autumn, in 2 years perspective. So it's a very short-term thinking about that. And we are lucky that we are, for example, in Green Capital of Europe, top finalist for 2022. And this has really positioned as a lighthouse project. So this is also for the cities, and especially for the leadership of cities, to find certain projects where to actually put the efforts and how to make a change. So it's not only the politicals who makes a decision, but there is a whole city which is behind this project. And we're really proud of, working on this green direction at the moment.
Thank you, Toomas. Thank you very much. And I just want to give Marc an opportunity to give us his perspective as well. I'm just wondering whether it would be similar themes, or it would be different.
I think I can introduce a new idea combined with sustainability. I think all the cities, we have the climate emergency very present, and the innovation must go to this line. And I just wanted to explain, and I think this fits perfectly now, an initiative that Barcelona has launched together with Berlin and Paris, which is called Data City Lab. You can visit the web datacitylab.com. It's a small platform where the three cities, we launch questions. We launch questions to the private sector in order to receive proposals to solve some kind of questions. Here we have we ask for proposals for mobility. We ask for proposals for example, for one of the things that drive collaboration between municipalities in Barcelona is all the e-commerce delivery, because it's having a huge impact on the mobility in the city and in the pollution. It has a lot of effects. But one of the questions that Barcelona launches now, and the companies can propose ideas, and if they win, they can test their solutions in the city, is linking, for example, how we can use the solar energy surplus to tackle social inequality. So this idea that the sustainability, the environmental sustainability is about equality, and that we don't have to forget within the cities that the technology also must go to tackle social inequality. And I think this is an idea that I wanted also to leave on the table, that we always think about technology on, I don't know how to say, very, very modern or new things, but we have very important challenges within the city related to social inequality. I think the COVID-19 crisis is going to challenge the local governments much more on this line. And I think we also need to think how these innovations, how these collaborations between cities can help tackling the social inequality and in a sustainable way. And that's why I wanted to also to explain this little initiative we have with Berlin and Paris, asking this kind of questions. So collaborating internationally within cities and within the metropolitan areas.
Thank you, Marc. I mean, I think the things that keep coming back here in our conversation is that, cities had to respond to the crisis. And when I say cities, I mean the ecosystem itself. And what I keep hearing from many of you, that having the need to take radical policy decisions and take them at a speed that hasn't been seen before, just to make sure that we have that level of safety in our cities worldwide. I think that's a theme that keep coming back from the conversation that we've had here. And obviously there is the current health crisis, but I'm starting to hear more and more from you now that there are other slower emergencies that also put our cities at risk. Whether it is inequality, whether it is the what you mentioned, the climate and pollution emergency. I think that Sandra and Toomas touched on as well. There's also the global housing crisis is another example. So what I'm thinking right now is learning how to address these slower emergencies plays a key role in creating a safe environment for generations to come. And the question I have for you, Katerina, here is really, what role can the think tanks play in developing solutions for the slower emergencies?
For this question, especially because nowadays, through this model that we have for visioning the future and how should city development be tackled, what we are advocating is about city identity, that the citizen can identify and be proud of the city. So we are not educating cities to solve the problems of today, because cities are here to stay for many years. They cannot take decisions just for the small problem that they have today. However, it's a crisis, because they need to plan and think for the future in many years. So I think solving the challenge with this perspective of long-term future, it's helping to resolve the problem in a manner that the problem will not persist and will not come in 5 and 10 years. This is what we try to educate the cities. Nowadays, there is many trends, not only in technology, but also in economical models, and cities find themselves totally lost, which is the best model. We spoke here about data and the data economy. It's the economy itself that it's very promoted, but then it's coming the sustainability and the environment with circular economy or donut economy. So there is so many names on the table that sometimes the municipalities teams are totally lost to what is the right here. And here is where we put this criteria of long-term vision. Let's put all these ideas and examine it with the examine of the time. What of them will survive and what will not? And this can be, here the criteria is coming about the uniqueness. So we are trying to advocate that if we try to recognize the unique role of everything, sensor, citizen, enterprise, ideas in a whole, it will really work for the best of the whole. And we already know, unfortunately, that similarities today are exponentially accelerated, bringing challenges. So this is our way to tackle these problems and this slow emergency or fast emergency, because sometimes you don't know. COVID, nobody was predicted that will come, and not with this violence. So you can think that health in general, it's a challenge for everybody, a tackle challenge, stable challenge, like a small emergency. When the cities grow population, their health issues grow. But with COVID, we see that sometimes you have these peaks. So there is no time to resolve it. So if you have been tackled this issue on a long-term perspective, you are more prepared, whatever it's coming later on. So thank you. This is our vision, how you need to tackle problems of today with solution from tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Katerina. Really good insights there. I'm just looking, we've got time for some Q&A. Is that okay, Pascal, if I start looking at the questions that were submitted by the audience?
Yeah, I think it's already at 48, so let's skip it to only one question then, Zach.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so forgive me while I read that. So we got most mega cities struggle to find solutions for pollution and overpriced housing. Did Barcelona and or Tallinn find technical solutions that work for them and might work for others as well? And this was submitted by Florence Logeas. Forgive me, Florence, if I haven't pronounced your name right. She is a business advisor, France and overseas markets. So shall I, since it says Barcelona and or Tallinn, I'll open it to either of you, Marc or Toomas. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I think that first of all, if you've been in Barcelona, you know Barcelona is a very, very, very dense city. So it's between two rivers, the mountain and the sea. So we have, for the good and the bad, one of the most dense cities in Europe. So I would say that there are no magic technologies to tackle pollution in the city. The main idea is that we need less cars inside the city, and if we have cars, we want less polluted cars in the city. That's the thing. How we enforce this, and then here it may come the technology. For example, today is 10th of September. In the 15th of September, the low emission zone of Barcelona will start properly working. It had to start working in March, and due to all the crisis, it was postponed. So how you can ensure that the pollution, that the cars that pollutes more don't enter to the city. So here you really need huge technology developed all across the cities, cameras recognition, database growth in order to know which vehicle makes which pollution. So this is one idea: less cars, less polluting cars. And then the second thing, and maybe it's not technology as we usually understand this, but Katerina may know a lot about this, what we call the super blocks in Barcelona. You know, Barcelona works like a grid. And it's really a new technology on urban mobility, on urban development, which is let's change this typical grid of Barcelona. So every 9 blocks we make a super block, so that the traffic goes only along the exterior roads of this super block, and the roads inside are for pedestrians or very, very limited traffic. So I think this is the most innovative technology that it's been implemented in the city in order to tackle the problem of the pollution. And I think one of the revolutionary ideas of this is that is a model that you can really explore. You can, because we have all this huge grid. If this works in one place, then you can export it in all or the other blocks. And then about pricing, same thing. Barcelona is a super dense city, very limited with geographical limits. So it's either you live inside the city or outside the city. And here, again, there are no magical solutions, because the reality is the prices don't go down. Investment in public housing. This is one of the things that the council is doing, but clearly it's not enough. It's not the solution of the problem. It helps, but it's not enough. And I would say then transport. So if you are able to make easier to the people to commute, to go closer to the city from outside, then you can help reducing the pressure of living inside the city center. And this is about investing in public transport, but also finding new ways to make the outskirts of Barcelona closer, so people can really live outside, and then lower this pressure on the pricing. But it's really a structural thing, and you can see it's not easy.
Thank you very much, Marc. Toomas, I'm just going to give you the opportunity to give us your perspective on this question submitted by Florence.
Yeah, there are quick answers. There are two ways to go. Either to regulate or to work on the solutions and to pay more attention on the education and communication. So we have chosen the second way mostly. So yeah, coming to the pollution, of course, you can teach the children how to, you know, in the generations coming, so they make a change. It's not immediate. And coming to the regulation part, of course, there are some, you know, obstacles that cities are facing. But yeah, as a city of 500,000 people, so we really don't see so many problems as a megacities see. We're lucky about that.
Thank you very much, Toomas. So I think we run out of time. I believe, sorry, Christina, go ahead.
I was just going to say we have a number of different questions that have just come in as well. There'll be opportunity for everybody to expand on this in the expert insight. So that's a document we'll produce after this. So I don't want to cut anybody short because everybody's got lots to say today, and we've got lots of questions actually coming in. And Philippe Bouvier, who's one of our previous panelists, is also asking questions at the moment online too. So we will give the opportunity in the expert insights, but I think we need to wrap up because we're short of time now.
Okay. I'm just going to give the panelists an opportunity to, if they've got a final point to make or final word, as brief as you can. Sandra, I'll start with you.
I think we need to be more responsible in what we offer to our cities and citizens. And I think we need to teach our citizens to make more responsible choices.
Thank you, Sandra. Katerina?
My last thing is that I would like everybody to think a little bit about what is coming for the next generation. We have been forgetting with this fast pace of the technology that there is coming more generation behind us. So if we have this perspective, some of the challenges that we have nowadays, maybe we will tackle it easier, or they will not be growing bigger. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. I'll look to you, Toomas, now. Final words?
Yes, so I always ask a rhetoric question, which you need to think about, is that technology is the answer to every question, but what was the question? So I guess the focus on what you do and how to make the best out of it, this is more important.
Thank you, Toomas. And final words, Marc?
Yeah, so linking about the crisis and what Toomas said, maybe we have to start thinking on what is going to come next, what we can learn from this, what we can change, and we need to think about how we can apply this technology to the challenges that we have now and the opportunity of start from zero in some areas.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you to all the panelists. I'm going to hand over to Christina, who's got some very important information about what happens next.
Thank you, Zach. Yes, thank you again for joining us, all of the attendees that have joined us today, and for the questions. We will expand on those in the Expert Insight document. So if you have any additional questions, please do contact us as well, and we can put them to the panelists. It's an extremely interesting discussion, and thank you to our panel for their insights today. I know we could carry on talking for a while. Don't forget to visit our website and follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. We're urbantech.world. You can view the recording of all of our events on the website, so previous events are there. This one will be up there too. And there's also an example of the last Expert Insights document to read, but do look out for the next one, which will be available in roughly 2 weeks' time, and any other news from us in the meantime. The document expands on the key takeaways that we've had here, answers additional questions, and offers further insights from our panel. And also we have some other experts who will be offering their view as well in the next one. Register for the next webinar. It's the 15th of October. Put it in your diaries now at 3 p.m. British Standard Time or 4 p.m. CEST. And if you want to get involved as a partner or subscribe or become a panelist, please do get in touch. And that's all from me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and have a great day. Stay safe.